Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. The show where, just like you, we can't get enough sports.
The 47-year wait is over! And the Nuggets win it! Wilson throwing, it's up for grabs, it is caught for the touchdown! And the Denver Broncos have taken Super Bowl 50. And the Avalanche are 2022 Stanley Cup champions! And a shot into the back of the net for Diego Rubio!
Now here's your hosts, Arthur Knight and Larry Perkins.
1-0 Rapids. They are champions.
Yo, what's good in the hood? Welcome to the Sportz Phenz Show. I am Arthur Knight. I am coming to you live from 4300 West Alameda here in Denver, Colorado. Come on by, get you some Viper Pit barbecue from So High Cafe. Tell Vinny the Sportz Phenz sent you. All right, man, he's got some slamming brisket baked beans today, man. And oh man, I just had a sample. Yeah, he put his entire foot in that batch of beans, man. So make sure you come on by, holla at Vinny, get your pre-orders done. You know what I'm saying? Bronco season is coming up. If you're watching the Rockies, come get you some barbecue for the game. I'm not watching the Rockies, and that's I won't go down that rabbit hole right now.
They won.
Did they win today? I know they won on Friday.
Yeah, against
They
the
got
Yankees.
smacked yesterday, though.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 14-1 or something like that. Like smacked.
Pretty good.
They got red bottomed. But I mean, that's not even the worst loss they've had this year. But anyway, we're also brought to you by iEnvy Vision. iEnvy Vision is an optometry office that provides comprehensive eye exams and medically focused eye exams to Aurora and surrounding areas. Book now, ienvyvision.com. That's ienvyvision.com, EYEENVY vision.com. They're also located at 700 South Buckley Road, Unit K in Aurora, Colorado, 817. They take all medical insurance, so go on by, tell Bryson that the Sportz Phenz sent you, or Arthur, just tell him that we sent you, and see what he can do for you. That he's a great guy. They're going to treat you right. I got the eyeglasses that you see on my face right now from them. He's got all kinds of upscale for I don't want to say low dollar because that's kind of lowbrow, but he's got a lot of good stuff, man, a lot of quality stuff for not a lot of money. So take your kids on down there. He's always doing something for the kids, you know, like kids get free eye exams and stuff like that. So check out their site. Again, that is ienvyvision.com. Check it out. Check out, like and subscribe all of their social media. That way you can get all of those notifications about when kids get free eye exams. It's usually right around back to school. But still, you want to be signed up and subscribe so that you can get those notifications. Again, iEnvy Vision, we see you. Okay. So the Eastern and Western Conference finals have been going on for the past few days. The NBA, we wanted to say it was unfair to the Nuggets, but the NBA has kept, toed the line. They're doing games every other day. I can't even be mad at that because as a basketball junkie, the only thing that sucks about it is that my team's not playing, okay? But if you're a basketball junkie like me, this is a great time right now. This is a great time right now where you're getting basketball every other day, with the exception of Minnesota beating the crap out of OKC last night. It's been pretty competitive basketball, I would say, as well, except for, SGA flopping like a flounder out there most of the time, but we'll get into that. The Broncos have beefed up their D. Let's see what that offense can do, though. Can Bo nix that sophomore wall? Let's see if he can do it. we're going to go down and I'm going to give you my takes on the schedule. They've got a pretty tough schedule because they made the playoffs last year, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. When you land in the higher spots, and that's in any sports, you tend to get the tougher schedules going into the next season. You get the number ones and the number twos and the threes, etc., on your schedule, plus the divisional games, plus any of the other opportunities or, the rivalry games, all of those things come into play. So we're going to get into that as well, go down their schedule. Minnesota and OKC are going back and forth now, it seems like. Did the NBA give an olive branch to Minnesota by allowing them to beat OKC by 42 points yesterday? And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that they allowed them. I know I just said it, but I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist about it. It just seemed a bit weird that they barely scored or couldn't score 100 points in the first two games, and then they were able to drop a 42 burger point differential on the best defense in the league. I'm just saying, it's not a conspiracy theory if it if it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? It just, yeah. Or if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense to me that they couldn't score at all and were getting, foul calls all over the, did Minnesota send a LeBron letter to the league and say, hey, look at all of these fouls that you're giving us, but OKC is doing the same thing and you're not calling those fouls? Not that they called it evenly yesterday or in the game 3. It clearly leaned towards Minnesota when Minnesota got real aggressive in that game. They were allowed to do all of the things that OKC was allowed to do in game 1 and game 2, and OKC was getting whistled for everything. But so we're going to get into all of that. But I want to start off with the Indiana Pacers and New York Knicks. Now, I have a friendly wager with my good friend, Mr. Lucas. I do not believe that the New York Knicks are going to win one game. And I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to stand 10 toes on that. Because I really don't think they're going to win a game. I think that Indiana is going to sweep them. Hot take, I guess. But I do believe that Indiana is going to sweep them and be waiting for the end of the OKC Minnesota series. They're going to get rest. They're going to get rest, and for a young team, that could be deadly. I know OKC and Minnesota are both still relatively young teams. So, but they're going to want that rest. But I think that series is probably going to go at least 5 or 6, right? I mean, 6 is what I mean, not 5, but 6. It's at least going 6. I think Minnesota will win another game, maybe even tomorrow night, or game 4. They may actually win that game. But I think the Pacers are going to win today, the 25th, and they're going to be up 3-0. And if New York wins one, it will be game 4. But I don't think they're going to win that game. So Lucas is going to owe me $2. $2. Like I said, it's a friendly wager. I don't really gamble, man. I do give him some advice. He will reach out sometimes. Would you take the over under? Would you take points on this or whatever? Or what do you think the score is going to be? Or, who's going to have the highest score? He asks me those questions all the time, and I will give him those answers, and he usually wins. But if I place those bets, I don't win at all. It just is what it is. That's why I don't really gamble. But the Indiana Pacers, man, they look good. I had them very high. Let me see. I had them at the 4. Okay, so I had them basically where they landed. But I knew this team was going to be good. They were in the Eastern Conference Championship Series last year. And, that was just that inexperience. But to have that experience, that's why they're up 2-0. I'm not even, anybody saying different is just fooling themselves. The reason why Indiana came into New York and was able to put it on them twice, I mean, one was an overtime game, we'll give them that, but the game 2, that was pretty damn decisive the way they beat them. But speaking of game 1, just real quick, side note, that the way Halliburton handed the ball to Cat was so disrespectful. Am I wrong? Like, it was funny. It was good. But it was very disrespectful because you need at least 0.4 seconds to get a clean shot off. And that's if you're under the damn basket. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be up or around the basket, maybe throw towards the basket. So when the person that's shooting the ball touches it, it's more like a touch, like a touch shot. It's not really, it's more like a water polo shot than it is an actual basketball shot. And that's the only way you're going to get a shot. If you're on the other side of the court, man, and you have 0.3, 0.2, 0.1 seconds, man, there's no way you're getting a shot off before the end of the game or the buzzer goes off. And Halliburton knew that. I mean, kudos to Halliburton. I don't know if his coach told him to do that or what, but I mean, it gave him a turnover, but it was it was such a smart play because why waste the energy to try to have everybody run around, do all of these picks and stuff when as soon as you hand him the ball, he's not going to have enough time, especially the way he handed him the ball. He handed him the ball kind of like facing towards his own basket or, Halliburton's basket, and he just handed him the ball and he had to turn and throw, and it was just, it was done. So disrespectful. So that's my side note on that whole series. That was just hilarious to me. But number 2, in the second game, they did beat them rather decisively with the game, 39-point game from Siakam that they got. 15 of 23, 3 of 5 from 3-point line, 6 of 8 from the free throw, and he was a plus 16 on the night, man. Tyrese Halliburton had a terrible night. I mean, terrible to his standard, or at least my standard. 14 points, and he was 5 of 16, 3 of 10 from 3-point, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. So I think, New York kind of took him out of the game in game 2, and that allowed Siakam to thrive. Then they also got some help from Nesmith. He gave 12. Turner gave 16. Nebhard got 12. They also got 10 off the bench from McConnell, plus a combined 10 points from Toppin and Shepard. So, that was, if you're going to call that a team win, that is a team win right there. I mean, it did take some heroics from Siakam to, push it over the line. But for the most part, the entire starting crew was plus in the plus-minus column, except for Halliburton, who was a -2. Excuse me. And then, Toppin did have 4 points, but he was a -11 on the night. But everybody else did pretty good. Shepard and McConnell were both +8 and +5. So that's a pretty decisive win right there. And you hold, Brunson got 36. Miles Bridges got 20. Cat got 20. OG got 16. But man, they went with a really short bench. So New York's coach, obviously, that's his rep, that's his MO. He's going to use his starters just like, he's that old school way. Coach Malone was kind of like that. They're only going to use 7-8 players. It looks like Indiana is using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys off the bench, getting 10 minutes plus, while their starters get less than 30 on average. Let's go 35 minutes per game. while on the Knicks side, even their bench players, Robinson and McBride, are doing 25, 29 minutes, but their starters, man, 35 that's OG, Hart 28, Cat 27, Bridges 45, Brunson 38. So they're playing long, tough minutes with a short bench. And man, why wouldn't you use Cameron Payne a lot more? PJ Tucker's on that team. Shamit's on that team. Like, why is he not using any of these players, man? That doesn't make any sense to me. Those are veteran players. That's not like those guys are just young guys that are hanging out on the bench because they couldn't play anywhere else. I would take all three of those guys on the Denver Nugget right now on the bench. If we have even one of those guys on our bench this year, we're probably playing in the the Denver Nuggets are probably playing in the Western Conference Championship right now. So I don't know why the New York Knicks coach is not utilizing his bench. You can't be playing these guys extended minutes, which is crazy because that's the kind of the way it's always been. And they're saying that players in this era are getting better, but it's like, are they though? Or are they just doing management to make sure that they have longevity, which is cool because I'd rather see a lot of these players play for a long time than have them kind of flame out because of injury and stuff like a Rose and just all kinds of players that we've seen over the years just tear their bodies up for a team and then get disregarded. So I think Indiana and to a certain extent OKC and Minnesota for that matter are all doing it the right way. The New York Knicks are the last of a dying breed in this championship series or in these championship series, trying to do it the old-fashioned way to where you extend your bench maybe 2 to 3 guys and that's it. Everybody else just sit down and cheer on. I mean, if that's for you, that's for you. But the game is evolving. You do have to start utilizing your bench, and that is why the Denver Nuggets, have a new coach. Even ownership didn't feel like Malone was utilizing his bench to the extent he should have. Whether that's true or not, I mean, I'll let you be the judge of that. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think he tried to utilize them and they just, weren't they weren't playing very well. I mean, you could see that when Adelman even tried to implement some of them. Sometimes it was good, other times it was really, really bad. And when you're in a championship window, you can't have those. There's only so much space for you to allow players to play through their mistakes when you're in a championship window with one of the best players, if not the best player in the world. You just can't. You don't have those growing pains anymore. You had those growing pains in Jokic's first 4 years, 5 years, maybe even 6 years. But now he's 30. All of this, the way that the NBA and the refs have allowed teams to beat the crap out of him is starting to take its toll on his body. You can tell by the elbow injury, the back injury, the leg injury, or the ankle, and all of this stuff that he's been going through. Jokic is best. He has a lot of abilities, right? But his best ability was the fact that he was available. His availability was his best ability, right? We're not used to seeing him hurt and in pain and grimacing and not being able to move and missing shots that he would normally make. We're not, as fans, we're not used to seeing that from him. So this whole situation is, when you have a championship window, you can, but you can only do it in a very mild way. So you kind of want to make sure that you have veterans on your bench that you can rely on, so that you can coach up the players that are younger and need, it's not just the coach that coaches them up. There's veterans on the bench to say, hey, young buck, this is what you want to do. Here's your approach. And that, that seems to be working a lot better in those three teams with the Pacers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. That seems to be working very, very well. So I'm hoping that Adelman, kind of implements that, tries to utilize his bench to the best of his abilities. Hopefully the Nuggets can make some moves. I know they are very limited in what they can do. I think we all know they're very limited in what they can do. You know what? Let me get through this OKC, and then I'm going to get to the Nuggets because I do want to talk about the Nuggets hiring David Adelman. But let me get to this Oklahoma City. So Oklahoma City gets mollywopped by 42 last night in Minnesota. And so the question has been all week since Doris Burke has really said it, live on national television during a game. Is SGA a free throw merchant? I would say yes. I would say he doesn't really play basketball. He plays to get to the free throw line, and that's okay as long as you're actually being aggressive and trying to score. He's not trying to score. He's trying to get a foul. I don't like that personally. That's not basketball. If you can bait your defender into a foul while you're shooting, that's one thing, but he doesn't. He creates the contact, which is supposed to be an offensive foul now in the new NBA rules under the new CBA. When he leans in, that's supposed to be an offensive foul, especially if the defender is going straight up and has good defensive position. That is supposed to be an offensive foul, especially when he puts his forearm out there and does that little extension. And they never call it. But when they do, when they do call it, he doesn't get as well. And I don't think they called it at all last night. When I was watching the game, I didn't have the sound on, so I don't know exactly, or I don't want to say I know exactly how many foul calls they called on him offensively, because I don't think they called a lot. But what I did notice to the point of Doris Burke is that when SGA doesn't get his free throws, he was doing the same flopping techniques last night. He just was not getting the calls. And that is a fact, because the numbers don't lie. He only took 4 free throws last night and had 14 points on 4 of 13 shooting and 2 of 5 from 3. -32. Okay? So when he doesn't get the flopping calls, he doesn't get any points. He's meh. He's mid. He's average when he doesn't get the free throws that he pines for and that he actually tries to get. So as I said at the top of the show, I'm not sure if they wrote a LeBron Karen letter, like Minnesota wrote a LeBron Karen letter to the league, and it was like, hey man, you're giving him all of these free throws and stuff, and when he's doing the same thing, that team is doing the same thing defensively that we do. They basically modeled their defense off of Minnesota. Fact. They modeled it off of Arizona, their team style defense, that trap defense that, they have the guys that get up in your face, they get real physical with you. The only difference between the two teams is Minnesota is actually bigger than OKC. So it's kind of funny that they were getting, it really is weird that OKC is the better defensive team. But they are statistically. It's just weird. The numbers don't lie, as I said. But he was 4 of 4, took 4 free throws in game 3. Okay, 14 points in 27.38 minutes. So yeah, they got pulled. They got pulled early because none of the starters played more than 20 minutes. Their bench actually played almost an equal amount of minutes in that game. But they got blown out in the first quarter by 34-14. They allowed Minnesota to score 38 in the second when they scored 27. Minnesota scored 35 in the third. They scored 29. The fourth quarter is the first time that they cracked 30 points, and they crack it at 31. And they still allowed Minnesota with their bench to score 36 points. Okay? So how do I know that his point totals aren't padded by his free throw attempts that the referees allow him to have with his flopping calls? And ESPN can try to put lipstick on the pig all they want. I don't care what excuses, and they want to roll back. Oh, well, here's the actual foul. No, it wasn't a foul. It wasn't a foul. If he leans in and he's not making a basketball move, the defender has just as much right to the space as long as they're in a good defensive posture. If they're behind him, though, or to his side, and he leans in to them sideways, like, how is that a foul on the defender? It's not. You can't call that on the defender. When he leans in, that's not a basketball move. It's not. I mean, it is, but it's not supposed to be, right? And under the new rules, it's not supposed to be. The defender has just as much rights to the ground where they're at as long as they're in a good defensive position. If they're not contacting the offensive player and the offensive player creates the contact, it's an offensive foul, man. I don't care what anybody says. But to the point of what I'm trying to make, in game 2, let me see, is this game 2? Yes, game 2. Oklahoma City wins 118-103, okay? Yeah, let me just make sure here. I want to make sure I'm looking at my stuff right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm at game 2. So in game 2, Oklahoma City's SGA played 41 minutes. He had 38 points on 12 of 21. 12 of 21. And 1 of 2 from 3. But he got 13 of that 38. 13 of that 38 from the free throw line, because he was 13 for 15 from the free throw line, right? So what did we say? We got 38. He had 38 points. And 13 of it was from the free throw line. So really, he had 25 points on 12 of 21. That's not necessarily bad, but that's not MVP. And he got that all throughout. I've gone back and I've looked at all of the games that he played against with the Nuggets when he wasn't getting those flopping calls, are the only games that the Denver Nuggets were able to win, because he wasn't able to score an extra 13 to 15 points from the free throw line. Okay, that's game 1. That's game 1. He got 15 free throws. He made 13 of them, got 13 extra points, got a plus 25, gave him a 38-point total for the game, but really he got 25 off of 12 and 21. That's just the truth. Like I said, the numbers don't lie. I'm looking dead at them right now. And this is from Yahoo Sports and ESPN.com. This is the numbers that they're giving based upon these games, okay? So in game 1, where they blew out the Minnesota Timberwolves, and it was 114-88, but really the score wasn't that close. Minnesota wasn't able to score more than 25 points in any quarter. First quarter 23, second quarter 25, third quarter 18, fourth quarter 22. Minnesota played really good defense, solid defense in the first quarter. Oklahoma City only scored 20. Second quarter, they scored 24. So Minnesota won the first and the second quarter. But then when SGA was starting to get his calls, right, when he started to get his calls, in the third quarter, Oklahoma City scores 32. In the fourth quarter, they scored 38. Okay? So in the second quarter, they really did just completely blow them out by 70 to... What is that? 8, 9, 10... By 40 points. Like, it's insane. But back to my point on the free throws. So, SGA, 37.4 minutes, 31 points, 10 of 27 shooting, 0 for 3 at the three-point line, but had 11 points of that 31 from the free throw line because he was 11 for 14 on the free throws. So that's how you get 30 points, man. So really he got 20 points on 10 of 27 shooting. That's our MVP this year. And I'm not trying to say, the bottom line is he did have a great season. Whether it was from the free throw line or whether he just was able to score points from the floor, he had a great season. But Nikola Jokic had a historic season. I don't want to hear this crap about, voter fatigue and it gets boring to see the same guy win it every year. That's BS, man. That's BS, because if it was your guy, you'd want to see them win every year, period. Do you think if SGA comes out and has an even better season next year, they're going to look at Jokic and be like, okay, well, we skipped over you last year. We're going to give it to you this year so that we just didn't give it to you, 5 in a row. I think the NBA and the NBA world just doesn't want to admit that Nikola Jokic is the best. Ooh, I almost cussed. The best player in the world. He is the greatest at this craft. He's just not marketable. I was just telling my lady the other day or yesterday, like, he's just not a marketable guy. He doesn't care about the glamour and glitz. He does not care. He doesn't want any of that. He doesn't want to be on, what's that commercial with SGA and Holmgren and Williams? Man, I can't think of the name of the commercial. It might be Chase or something where they're wearing all the blue suits and it's all the same except for it's slightly different. And it's the dumbest commercial I've seen, but it sticks in your brain, so that's great marketing. But Jokic doesn't want to do those type of things. Like, he liked doing those commercials with P-Watt back in the day, and it was cool, but he's not looking for those big paydays like your big stars. You can't put him as the face of the NBA because that's just not who he is. He's not flamboyant. He's not going to be flashy. Jamal Murray would be better suited for it, except for Jamal Murray's not having historic games. I mean, he does to a certain extent sometimes when he drops, a lot of points and does some of the crazy, miraculous shots that he makes, but he's not doing averaging triple doubles. He's not, doing historic things for his position. Jokic, like I said, SGA had a great season, but Jokic had an historic season, and he should have been the MVP, man. The only thing that I don't like being introduced into this conversation is the fact of Jokic being white or the race thing altogether. It's just not. I do not think it has anything to do with Jokic being white and SGA being black or Joel Embiid being black and basketball is a black sport, et cetera, because it's not a black sport. It's a world sport. People all over the world play this sport now. So it's not just a black phenomenon. It's not just something that black people dominate anymore. Some of the best players in the world are fair-skinned Europeans, fair-skinned Americans. That's just what it is. The Dream Team made basketball so big, Michael Jordan made basketball so big that people all over the world want to play just like them and want to play basketball just because of them. So I don't think it has anything to do with race. I do think it has to do with marketability, because money talks. Money talks, and BS walks, right? So when a player is not marketable the way Jokic is not market, I mean, I feel like I could market him as an MVP, or even as, he doesn't want to be marketed like that. I feel like I could still figure out a way to market him well, and still make him the face of the league, because he does have personality. He has personality, but he's not one of your typical players in the NBA that he does think of family first. He does think of, and I'm not knocking any of the other guys. He got his bag, but he wasn't necessarily holding out to do it. He didn't try to move anywhere to get it. The Nuggets just knew who he was and paid him, and he accepted the money. But I honestly do believe that he would, if the Nuggets asked him to for next year, instead of having to trade a Murray or an MPJ, which I'm not saying don't do, I'm just saying as opposed to doing, if they wanted to figure out a way to, excuse me, they want to figure out a way to cut money, I guarantee you Jokic is such a humble star that he would renegotiate and take a pay cut. I mean, he's already made his bag twice. So I think he would honestly take a pay cut just to solidify the bench so that they can win another championship or two. And tell me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sportz Phenz. We're on YouTube. I've got us up on most of our social media. I still got to set up some IG and some some other things, but that's all coming. Videos are coming. I'm gonna start clipping stuff and showing y'all things that I'm talking about. That way, Vinny has something to do besides press record and run away to go cook. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on all social media. But okay, so the Denver Nuggets signed David Adelman as their new head coach going forward. Now, I know there's a lot of Nuggets Nation and mostly noobs. There's a lot of Nuggets Nation that are not happy with the hire. They feel like that's just an extension of Mike Malone. And maybe there's a little truth to that. I can't, deny that maybe there's a little truth to that, but I do feel like Adelman had a bit of a different approach, because Kroenke is right. And he said the other day, and I quote, we were trending to, or not, excuse me, not on quote, I'm going to paraphrase, excuse me. He said something along the lines of, the Denver Nuggets were trending towards the play-in and possibly out of the playoffs in the first round, or before they could even get to the first round. And I agree with him that we all saw that. That's what they were trending towards. So he made a change, and Adelman went with a different approach and was able to squeeze a little more juice out of this team. They were able to get, excuse me, to the same exact position they were last year from a lower seed. From a lower seed than they were last year, they were able to get to the second round, Game 7, and barely just didn't get it, couldn't cross the finish line. We don't have a deep enough bench. You're going to have a deep bench, which is why I do think Nikola Jokic, even if they do trade MPJ and or Murray in this offseason, I could still see Jokic taking a pay cut so that they can sign some of these, so they can just sign a deeper bench. They could get a deeper bench, more experience on the bench. And I don't mean more experience. And I love DJ. Don't get me wrong. I loved the fact that he was here and he was like a coach on the bench and even played some solid minutes this year for the Denver Nuggets. But that's not what I mean by deep experience. I mean like guys that are role players that are in their prime and can actually contribute. And everybody keeps talking about Bruce Brown, and I wouldn't be mad if Brucey B came back. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, no, I was gonna say because not too long ago I would have said the Denver Nuggets don't know who their head coach is going to be, so we don't know if Bruce Brown would actually fit in in that scheme. We don't know what the scheme is going to be. So, but now that we know Adelman is in fact the Denver Nuggets coach, Bruce Brown coming back would be welcomed, like extremely welcomed, because it's not like Adelman's going to implement a completely different system. It'll be the same system, but run differently. It looks like there's going to be a lot of two-man action, not just with Jamal Murray and Jokic, but there's going to be a lot of two-man action with him and AG, et cetera, et cetera. So, even some two-man action with Christian Brown. I want to see what Christian Brown comes back with next year, because he's in that contract year and getting snubbed for not getting most improved. So I want to see what he does next year, especially in that when he gets to the point where he starts playing a lot more fluidly. Like there were points in the year where he seemed so confident in his offensive game and he was scoring damn near at will when it came to that. But there were also times where you can tell he's being timid, and I'd be yelling at the screen or I'd be watching the game with Mark and we're yelling at the screen, shoot the ball, baby boy, shoot the ball. And it's like, just shoot it, man. Just shoot it. Take it to the rim. Do something. And sometimes he would, and other times he would just like dribble a couple of times and then look to pass the ball. And it's just like, man, he's got to get that confidence in himself, man. He's just got to get that confidence. So I'm looking forward to what he's going to do. But if the Denver Nuggets do not trade Jamal Murray and or MPJ, they are going to need a lot of help signing players. They're going to need a lot of help. They are. Because what they have right now, even Jokic said, they're not going to be able to win with. Period. They're not going to be able to win. They're just not going to be able to do it. And that has bared out in 2 years since the Denver Nuggets allowed certain players to walk away. And I don't know if Josh Kroenke's hands are clean of that, allowing Bruce Brown and KCP. KCP I'm not too mad about. Like, I loved KCP. But I'm not too mad about him because Christian Brown stepped up and stepped in and did an amazing job, and his numbers were better. So I wasn't mad about KCP. But when, they let Bruce Brown walk, it just, it was frustrating. But I do understand, don't get me wrong, I understand that at that time they couldn't offer him the money that he wanted and that Indiana could. But Indiana quickly realized that Bruce Brown was not worth that bag. And I love Brucey B, but he wasn't. He was a role player, and he had great success within the system that the Denver Nuggets ran. He's not that great of a player. He just is great in his role in this particular system. So I would welcome Brucey B back because he's one of those disruptors. I would welcome him back. Because having him and we know Westbrook, unless Westbrook decides to retire or not pick up his player option for this year, which would be dumb, I think he actually will pick up that player option just to try to get that ring. Just to get that ring. Hey, baby. So, yeah, see, I feel you on that. I feel you on that, Mark. Like, I'm just looking at the text line here, guys. Mark Perez says we don't need Brucey B. Love the guy, but he's not worth it now. I completely agree, but I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if he did come back because having him and Westbrook, I I think that would actually be a lot more dynamic. But I'm not even sure, to be completely honest, that I want Westbrook to come back next year. I would honestly rather the Nuggets utilize that money in another way, and move some other pieces around to open up ways to get better bench players. But I mean, I guess we're going to see. We don't know who the GM is going to be yet. And I would say, a lot of people, like I said at the top of this this little, part of this segment, there's a lot of people upset that David Adelman was hired as the coach. And I'm not upset. I think he took something that he did exactly what Kroenke said he would do. He said Kroenke came out when he fired the GM and the coach. He said that I think this team is capable of doing more and doing better. And they were. The Denver Nuggets would look like a tired team. They were a beat up team, but they to take 2 series to a game 7 with only 7 players playing for the most part, you can't discount that. You can't discount that in any way, shape, or form, man. That's tough to do. And with Adelman, he took a team. Yes, he's been on the team for years. He's been on the team ever since Jokic has been here for sure, and maybe even a little bit longer. But the fact of the matter is that he hasn't been calling the shots. He's been the assistant coach. Now, the first assistant coach, yes, but he hasn't been calling the shots. And he had 3 games to prepare for a playoff run. And he managed to coach a team into winning taking a team to 7 games in 2 series, winning one of them, and almost winning the other. He deserves a shot. He's been interviewed for a head coaching job for the past 3 years. So you don't think he's ready? He's ready. Here's my gripe with the GM hiring David Adelman before he hired a GM. To me, the whole friction and issue between Michael Malone and the GM, I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, but I think the biggest wedge that was driven between them two is that GM didn't hire Michael Malone. Tim Connelly hired Michael Malone. Tim Connelly's the GM in Minnesota. So that wasn't Michael Malone wasn't his guy. And Michael Malone knew that. Michael Malone obviously didn't care if he was his guy. He won a championship here, and he's from Astoria, Brooklyn, and he's got a bit of a swag to him, and he's got an air of confidence, which you should have. His might be even a slight arrogance, but hey, it is what it is. That's who you hired. You knew what you were getting, and okay. So here's my issue. There was that friction because one didn't hire the other and the other one wasn't hired. You know what I'm saying? So there was that friction of, this isn't my guy, and you're going to do what I tell you to do with the players I give you, and you're going to build your bench. And no, I'm going to play my veteran guys and try to win that way, because a coach's job is to win the next game. It's not my job necessarily to develop guys into who you think they can potentially be, as opposed to you drafting guys that fit within my scheme, right? So there was that bumping of the heads. What makes you think now? David Adelman's a little more level-headed than Michael Malone. He also has the pedigree of coming from Michael Malone does too. Don't get me wrong, because his dad coached in Detroit, the Bad Boys and whatnot. But David Adelman has that same type of pedigree, but with a different approach, right? His dad is a Hall of Fame coach. It's not like he's wet behind the ears. Like I said, he's been interviewed for the head coaching position for the last 2 or 3 years. So it's not like he doesn't know his stuff. But what makes you think that friction won't happen with Adelman and the new GM that you bring in? Because the new GM didn't hire this guy. Unless Kroenke is going to decide to absorb as the president the general manager role, I don't see how this can't go wrong with him hiring the coach and then post hiring the GM. Like, that's going to cause the same type of friction. That's going to cause the same time, or could potentially. I shouldn't say, knock on wood, it doesn't, but it could potentially cause the same issue that you just created right now. Like, I get it. They did promote the last GM from within, and he was under Tim Connelly, and he got all the credit for that championship team. But Tim Connelly's the one that drafted Jokic and Murray. Now, granted, this past one, God dang, now it's going to kill me because I can't think of his damn name. Hold on. So, God, what was that boy's name? It's driving me nuts. Anyway, they did promote him from Calvin Booth. Yes, thank you, Calvin Booth. So they promoted him, and he got all the credit. But Tim Connelly's the one that drafted all of those players to win that championship and put that championship team really together. The only person that contributed to winning that championship that Tim Connelly didn't personally have his fingerprint on was Christian Brown. That's the only real hit that Calvin Booth has had in his tenure as the Denver Nuggets general manager. That's the only hit he had, because Christian Brown is going to be a special player in this league. If that boy can awaken his offensive game, you watch out, because you can see it in spurts. You can see it. It's there. He can play on this level, especially as a defensive specialist. He should be on first or second team all defense this year. And if he's not, I'm going to have to check it. But if he's not, I'm probably going to be pissed, because that'll be 2 snubs. Because he had to cover in this playoffs the best players. And, he basically shut James Harden down. He all but held him down on the court and shaved his beard off and smacked him on the ass and sent him running. He really did. So that's the only gem and bright spot that Calvin Booth had. He did draft P. Watt, but P. Watt is an unpolished gem. He's just not polished, and it's going to still probably take him another full year before it's on him, to me. It's on him to start developing his offensive game. P. Watt, to me, and I love him to death, and I hope he stays on this team and they're able to keep him. But his biggest problem, in my humble opinion, is he might not be putting in enough time in the offseason to season his game a little bit. Like, he is defensively, his defensive prowess is going to be with him for the rest of his life. But the fact is he has little to no offensive game to speak of. He cannot create his own shot. When he goes up, even for alley-oop or for layups, they're awkward looking. Like, he doesn't know how to make a layup. He misses dunks. It's just like, you got to put in the work, my guy. You got to put in that work. And if you don't, it's just not going to succeed. Speaking of succeeding, though, or possibly not succeeding, the Denver Broncos look like they, I said at the top of the show, can Bo nix the sophomore year or the sophomore slump? That will remain to be seen, but I tell you one thing that's going to help. The Broncos are talking about, and Cortland Sutton are talking about an amicable solution for the next season. So the Broncos could be, solidifying having Cortland Sutton, lifelong Bronco, man, and helping Bo Nix grow up as a football player and as a QB in this league. But it looks like they are going to come to some sort of resolution to where he can stay and play with Mr. Nix. So I am all for that because the Denver Broncos are going to have a very, very, very tough season this year. Preseason starts. Looks like there's no dates yet. I don't know why. Oh, okay, here we go. First preseason game is August 9th versus the San Francisco 49ers. Then game 2 is Broncos versus New Orleans Saints. Then September 7th, the Broncos are going to play the Tennessee Titans on their opening day at Empower Field. So the Denver Broncos get their first home game, first day off the bat. That hasn't happened in quite a while. They've actually had to go out on the road every single season, and it drives me absolutely batty. But with that said, let's see here. So Denver Broncos plays Tennessee Titans. I think they come out and they beat the Titans. This Denver Broncos defense they recreated the no-fly zone or, the orange crush, whatever you want to call them. They've recreated it. They have 3 legitimate corners that can stop your top 3 receivers in any order. They've beefed up their linebackers, and their defensive line was already stout. So be wary of the Denver Broncos. And the Tennessee Titans have an all-new offense, so I think the Denver Broncos are going to win that game. And game 2 is Indianapolis. In Indianapolis, I think the Broncos do go in there and beat the Colts. Even though the Colts, rest in peace, Mr. Irsay. Big shout out to him. Thank you for firing Peyton Manning so that the Denver Broncos can go to 2 Super Bowls and win 1. We appreciate you, sir, for not having faith in one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and allowing the Denver Broncos to have him during a time where he broke records. So thank you. Game 3 is against the Los Angeles Chargers. So 2 games out of division, and then they're right into the frying pan with the Chargers. That is going to be a very tough game in Los Angeles. I think the Denver Broncos, my girl's probably going to be mad, but I think the Broncos take that L. Unfortunately, they're going to take that L in Los Angeles against Los Angeles. Then the Broncos will come back home and they will play the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they beat the Bengals. Then the champs come, I was going to say the champs come into town. So now granted, the Broncos are going home and away so far. So keep that in mind as this is going to be a tough season, because it's not just the teams that they're playing. It's how much traveling they are going to have to do. They don't have too many back-to-back games. But anyway, where was I? Week 5, Philadelphia. So the Broncos have to go into Philly. I do not think they beat Philly in Philly. So I think the Broncos are going to take that L. Game 6, Broncos come back home and play the Giants. The Broncos win that. Week 7, the Broncos play the Dallas Cowboys in Colorado. If Gus is up to it, Mark, we're going to have to go to that game, man. We're going to have to figure out a way to go to that game. But I give the Broncos a W right there. Right. Dayton boys. That's his 2 favorite teams, man. And I would love for us to be able to
Let me break it down.
take him to that game if we can figure that out some way logistically. All right, then the Broncos play the Houston Texans in Houston. That's going to be a tough game, but I think the Broncos actually pull that out. I'm probably the only person in the world who thinks that, but I think they do pull that out. Then the Raiders come into Denver on November 6th to play the Broncos on a Thursday night. I think the Broncos not only beat them, but they whooped they ace in that game. And then right after that, got to play at Empower Field again against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Broncos actually win that game. Call me crazy. I don't care what you say. It's my microphone. I'll do what I want. Well, it's not my microphone, but you know what I mean. Almost done, Vinny. And then we'll wrap this up. Let's see. Then they have to go into D.C. and play the Commanders. Whoo! God, man, that's going to be a tough one. Broncos got a better defense this year. Oh, I'm going to give them the W. That's probably wrong, but it is what it is. I'm going to give them that W. Okay, and then you can catch Ryan and I. We will be at that game. We will try to figure out a way to remotely call in to from the game with Vinny on that week. But Ryan and I will be at that game because Ryan's a Green Bay fan, and I am obviously a Broncos fan, and I am going to give the Broncos a W on there. Obviously, I think the Broncos are going undefeated this year, except for like 2 L's thus far. Mark calls me a homer all the time. I am honestly being realistic about this, though. And some of these I could be wrong. You know, it is what it is. Okay. And let's see. Week 13, we've got Jacksonville. Broncos win that. And then we've got the Chiefs in the Arrowhead. They take that L there. And then they play the Chargers. And they win that one. Let's see. Oh, I think I missed a game here because there was missed a game or two. Where's that game? Because I know they play out of country, don't they? They do in London against the Jets. Believe it or not, I think the Broncos actually lose that game. Call me crazy. I think they actually lose that game. All right. So that rounds it out. Go Broncos. Hopefully the Nuggets can figure something out and make a good run. Let's see what the Broncos do. I'm sorry that the Rockies suck ace right now and are getting mollywopped and probably historically the worst. Now, not probably. They are historically the worst baseball team in baseball history. So we have that. We're all praying for Broncos season to start. Oh, my God. But with that said, we will see you next week. We will be missing June 8th, though, because I will be at a Rockies game. Vinny will be out of town. So you will not see a podcast that week. But you will see us next week. Same time, same channel. Deuces.